Hey everyone, it's Fanzine Live. We are here doing some new releases. We're going to have a string of UFO books and zines, and I hope you enjoy each and every one of them. And let's get started. In the UFO, in the United Fanzine Organization, we have a rule that you have to publish and share with all of the other members at least 20 pages of content in at least one zine every year. And so we occasionally run across a member who, due to whatever circumstances, life, health, job, whatever, are not able to publish their 20 pages in time. And so they come right up against the deadline because you got to do it every 12 months. Maybe you get an extension from the chairman because you're a nice guy and you've got to put something out. Our former chair, Steve Keeter, ran into this problem, and it's for very good reason. He went and got married. And so he has spent the year enjoying time with his fiance, now wife. Best wishes. We're thrilled that this has happened. But he got caught in the crunch and had to come up with a zine to be real fast. Steve does a book called Mantra, which is kind of his superhero-ish type thing. He didn't have time to do Mantra the way he wanted, so he put out Skeet's Saving Grace. It is a one-off to meet the requirements of membership, but at the same time, it's got some good stuff in it that we need to take a look at. First off, he has a brother named Gary Keeter. Gary Keeter, my friends, is a pretty darn good artist. Look at those. And I also would like to say that I think Steve uses like FedEx Office or something like that, just the standard public photocopiers. He got a nice photocopy quality off of those two pieces of art. There might be more of Gary's in here. I'll obviously point it out as we come along. Anyway, Brother Gary, good stuff. So we'll start with that. Of course, you got your UFO logo on the cover. This is a piece by the late Chuck Bunker from 2024. Chuck being a friend of mine, friend of Steve's, the creator of Geriatric Man and the Pie Man that we've looked at. This is Sophocles, the armchair philosopher, who asks, why has there never been a mouse-flavored cat food? Okay, fair enough. Quick opener by Steve. And then we get into a piece called The Mining Colony, written and drawn by Steve Shipley, who is out of the Toledo area here in Ohio. Nice looking work, a little simpler than Steve's stuff in the past, but it is no less effective as a piece. He also uses some good tones. Nice to say that the toning didn't come out with that moire pattern that sadly I usually get when I publish poor Tony Lorenz's work. Comes across nice. If I remember, this is kind of one of those EC horror type things where they tell you the science fiction story and then there's the twist at the end that you kind of have fun with. I'm going to skip past it just so that you don't see the twist. But yeah, that's Steve's work. Steve Shipley's been doing it as long as I've been alive, as well as Steve Keeter. So these guys know what they're doing. It's very simple, straightforward storytelling. Good stuff. Then Tim Temmel has a 2024 short story in here, kind of a cyberpunk type thing. It's a little heavy, a little dense, but very interesting as far as the cyberpunk stuff goes. I think the artwork, he said in here, original stock photos and images used here on our property respective owners used just for fun. I was looking to see if this was something that was drawn by somebody or perhaps, instead it's just, as you can see, for fun. Then we get to, yes, Phoenix Master, Steve Willis. He has The Rudest Belch of All, which is a piece that Steve Keeter and Steve Willis jammed on together. Willis informs me that this was published in one of his jam zines. I thought I had seen it before, but I, of course, got to make sure I'm right on these things. The jam piece, of course, is out of print. All of Steve Willis's jam pieces are out of print. And so if you ever want to read this particular piece, you now have the opportunity to buy it here. So you get a little bit of Steve Willis, which then switches to Steve Keeter, which switches back to Steve Willis, which switches back to Steve Keeter. And it's really cute. It's all about this flamingo bird that eats everything and eventually decides to start eating some nuclear missiles and things that happen as a result. The checklist, Gary Keeter, welcome back. Again, another gorgeous looking piece. And then the end of it. This book is $3 postpaid. That is a darned good deal. And I also note it was printed. This was typed on June 14th, 2026, 2 weeks before his wedding. So a wedding gift from Steve to the world. Only $3 postpaid. Information on how to get this in the show notes as well.